Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real here with Bob Gallagher, your host, and I'm joined in studio by longtime friend and excellent realtor Nelson Zide from ERA Key Realty Services in Framingham. How you doing, Nelson?
Rob, I'm doing wonderful, and you're absolutely correct in your introduction.
Oh, good. I didn't think you'd disagree with any of it.
I wouldn't, and I'm sitting with one of the finest loan officers I know.
And I'm not going to disagree with that either.
I didn't think so. I don't blame you.
We're glad to have you back on the show,
Thank you.
Nelson. We asked you in today to talk about the new real estate reality and how you prep your buyers for dealing with it.
Wow. I mean, we are in a new reality right now, especially with multiple offers and, crazy things we're seeing out there, what buyers are doing, what sellers want, even what realtors are asking for.
Right.
And I really think if you're working with that first-time buyer, and you are a first-time buyer out there, one, you really need to have a realtor who will do a counseling interview with you.
Right.
If that realtor says, come on in, I'll take you out, let's go, we'll buy, you're really missing the boat because they're not helping you.
Right.
And you really need have to have a good loan officer. And I'm not saying that because I'm with you, but I sure I am, but I'm not. I am. Yeah. But if you are not going to get yourself pre-approved with a good loan officer, so there are no issues,
right,
then you're wasting your time looking because you're going to lose right away.
Right.
Lose right away.
Right.
But the counseling interview to me is so important because the new reality out there today is when you want to make an offer, there is no making offers, relatively speaking, below asking price.
Right.
Especially if the house is new on the market.
Right.
And if that's the case, you're going to have lots of competition.
Right.
Now, as a buyer, you don't understand that. What does that mean? Why can't I? My brother bought 3 years ago, and he took $5,000 off the price. Well, that's not going to happen today.
Right.
And you need to know what your reality is with the fact of multiple offers on that property. And how can you try, and I say that in a nice way, really try to position yourself in a good line that you can get that seller to accept your offer with multiple offers. Well, what do? One, I'll go back to that really good pre-approval. I'm also going to strongly suggest get a pre-approval that is for more money than what you're going to offer.
Right.
There are a lot of lenders out there, and they advise their buyer, you're going to buy at $300, I'll give you a $300 pre-approval letter. Well, what happens when there's 4 offers, and you're at $300, and you offer $300, you're not a strong buyer.
Right.
From the listing agent standpoint, you are marginal.
Because they think you're maxing out.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So now you don't want a $500,000 pre-approval letter.
Right.
But if you're buying at $300, get one at $320, $330, even $340. So you can show the other side that you are a strong buyer, no matter what other terms are, but you're a strong buyer.
Right.
And if you're just going to get 4 letters, you may not have that opportunity to come back again.
Right.
And you don't want to come back and don't listen to these loan officers. This is not Ross Mortgage, but this is loan officers. I'll just give you the 5 pre-approval letters. No. Get something that shows you're a good, strong buyer.
Right.
That's number 1. Number 2, do make sure you are fully pre-approved. None of this pre-qualification crap.
Right.
Excuse my language.
Right.
Okay. Make sure your lender verifies your income, verifies your assets, gets the tax returns, gets everything they need to say you are a good, strong buyer.
Right.
And you can afford to buy.
It may still say pre-qualification on it because an underwriter actually has to sign off on a pre-approval, but there's a difference between the loan officer just asking you how much you make and if your credit's good and give you a letter versus pulling credit, checking income, going over everything with you.
You got to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you got to look at what are some of the things that may turn or tip the scales. Number 1, look at deposits. Normally in our market area, an initial deposit is $500 to $1,000. And then you typically have 3% of the purchase price at a purchase and sales agreement about 2 weeks later.
Right.
That's sort of typical.
Sure.
What you could do is offer your 3% deposit at the offer. So now instead of $1,000 at the offer, you're offering $10,000 at the offer.
Right.
Maybe only $1,000 at purchase and sales.
Right.
But $10,000 up front to show your seriousness to the seller.
You're not a tire kicker.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. That's a whole different ballgame. But in theory, if you're going for a 3.5%, 5% down payment, you have the cash.
Right.
Offer it up front to show the seller how serious you are.
That's smart.
So it could tip the scales a little bit.
Right.
Okay, for you. I will also suggest to you is be careful for what you write as things that you may want. So if they're not offering the washer and dryer, do not throw it in.
Right.
Because that's one more thing that they didn't want to give.
Right.
And now you want it, and you get 3 other people who are letting it go, you could lose over a washer and dryer.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
No.
Okay, no way. One of the other things which I've seen, but I'm very, very leery on, very leery, I've seen buyers waive home inspections.
Wow.
Waive it totally. So the offer is not subject to a home inspection by a licensed home inspection company.
So does that mean you can't get a home inspection, or
Nope.
you're just not subject to, you
It's
just
not
can't get out of it?
Right. You can't get out of the deal. If you do back out, you lose your deposit.
I gotcha.
Okay? But people are doing that because that's one major contingency that a seller's looking at, especially if you're in an older home,
Right.
that you could back out. Now, I've seen people say, my home inspection is only for informational purposes.
Right.
But that still doesn't waive your right, even though some people think, some realtors think, if you write that in, you can't back out, you lose your deposit. No, you don't. You still could get your deposit back.
Right.
But if you waive it totally, you better be really sure of the structural integrity of the house. And I know realtors, believe me, very few realtors go into attics. Very few realtors will poke sills, will look at stuff. Hey, I know enough to be really dangerous, but I would never, ever advise my client to do an offer without a home inspection. Now, saying that, if you've lost 4 houses and you are
Yes.
tired of losing houses and everything looks good,
Yes.
it's a possibility, okay, to waive it.
Right.
Now, one of the things you could do, if you can get in early enough and if you can set it up, is have the home inspector come with you on the very first viewing.
Right.
Have a quickie home inspection. So you have a reasonably good idea of what he says before you make the offer.
That's smart. Yeah.
And now, sometimes you don't have time.
Right.
I mean, there are too many realtors who are listing the homes on Thursday, first open house on Sunday, offers presented on Monday. You get 50 people to 70 show up on Sunday. It's a zoo.
Yeah.
If you get any first-time home buyer, which is the first-time home price, it's a zoo.
Right.
You may not have that choice
Right.
to do that.
Plus,
Okay.
there's expense involved too. Obviously, if you want a home inspector to show up
Right,
with you.
and they're going to show up, so they may not charge you $400 to $600, but they're going to charge you $300 to $500.
Right.
But this way you could have a stronger offer.
Right.
Possibly. Okay. Now, I've also seen, which I absolutely do not agree with. I want to make it real clear.
Yeah.
Some of the things I don't agree, but a lot of it just depends.
Right.
Okay. I've had people go with no financing contingency.
Right.
So they don't make it subject to them getting a loan.
Right.
Another reason why that pre-approval is so critical. Now, it's a risk.
Right.
I'm not denying it. It's a risk of your deposit.
Right.
Because if you don't get the loan,
Right.
you're going to
And
lose your deposit.
We should clarify that. It's your deposit that's at risk. So if you don't get financed, it doesn't mean in order to waive your financing contingency, you don't have to have cash in the bank to go to
No.
closing.
You can still get a loan.
Right.
Okay? You still get the loan, but you can't back out in 30 days to 45 days
Right.
and get your deposit back.
Right. Your deposit's at risk.
It's at risk. Now, if you feel really comfortable and maybe you have a huge down payment, which most first-time home buyers don't, maybe, and this is a question for you. I want to ask you, if I have a first-time home buyer and can they run everything through your underwriter before they have a property?
Yes, you can technically, but the issue with all the regulations having
Yes,
changed over the
nutrients.
last, especially since October, it gets really time consuming to do that. And one of the things we have to be cognizant of is making all the the time frames and requirements on all the loans that do have properties.
Exactly.
So it can get really difficult to have underwriters look at it without a property.
Right. I mean, so it's a possibility, but it's very difficult.
It is.
If the buyer can, it may be worthwhile to do it beforehand if they could.
Right.
Because then you may be able to go in with no financing contingency.
Yep.
And no financing contingency is huge to the seller.
Yes.
Okay, huge. I've also seen people do what's called escalation clauses.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you explain that?
Okay. An escalation clause is a clause in the contract you offer to purchase that says we will pay $500, $1,000, $2,000, whatever the amount is, over the highest verified offer.
Does that work?
Sometimes. They don't. The seller doesn't have to take it.
Right.
I mean, if you look at 4 offers, and one is cash,
right,
but it's lower money,
right,
and one is 3% down conventional with an escalation clause, I'd rather take a lower offer cash from my seller.
Right.
Than take now the buyer may be great financeable,
right,
but one whole less thing I have to worry about,
right,
from the financing angle. So it works sometimes. It all depends upon what the terms are of the other offer or other offers. And this is also why you need that buyer counseling interview.
Right.
You need your realtor to tell you this stuff. You don't want them to tell you when you're negotiating an offer and you're saying, oh, my God, what do I do? You need to have this played out before you even see a house.
Right.
So you're well prepared. You're already going to be nervous anyways.
Right. Because if you see a house these days,
Yep.
you go out and see it and you want it, you don't have a week and a half to go out and do your due diligence and get pre-qualified.
Nope.
By that time, I mean, the next day the house is probably gone anyways.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone, especially when you're looking in our marketplace, which is the Metro West suburbs and Southern Worcester County. You look at stuff under $400,000, which is a first-time home buyer's house.
Scary
thought, but it is.
Yeah.
You know, there just isn't anything. I talked to a seller earlier, and he's got a multi-level in the north side of Framingham. It needs some work. I told him put on for $340. You know why? Because I said between $250 to $400 in Framingham as of this weekend. Tell me how many houses you think were on the market.
How many should be or how many are?
How many are?
I mean, you'd think
this is a $150,000 spread.
The city the size of Framingham, you'd think it would be 40, 50, 80?
8.
Really?
8. In a $150,000 spread.
Wow.
And not one was below 310. So between 250 to 310, zero.
Wow.
Zero. Well, and I said, look, you put it on, you're probably going to sell for over full price. Be prepared. It's just the way the market is. Even though we know you have an old kitchen that really needs work. You've got 2 old bathrooms, but you got a beautiful lot. You got an updated roof. You got updated windows. I can't justify going much higher.
Right.
Just the value isn't there.
Right.
But a buyer may come over and say, I'll pay you $370 cash because there's nothing else on the market.
Wow.
And that's why, from the buyer's perspective, you need to have that counseling interview. Because if your realtor's going to tell you there's 5 offers, you offered $340 on a $340 house, you're not even in the ballgame.
Yeah, you might as well just not make the offer.
Why are we wasting your time and mine?
You know what? Before I forget, Nelson, I want to give out your contact
info.
Okay.
Thank
Anybody that's listening out there that's looking to buy or sell anywhere in Metro West and the surrounding areas, you want to give Nelson Zide a call at ERA Key Realty Services, 508-277-7794. Again, it's 508-277-7794. And you can call or text there or email them anytime at Nelson@NelsonZide.com. So going back to the new reality, you were saying before that you could be looking at 4 or 5 houses and you just get tired of losing houses, so you start taking things off your offer, adding it to whatever the case may be.
Right.
That really is kind of the new reality. It's not.
It is.
It's not the oddball thing anymore. I mean, if you're buying a house, the chances that you're going to get the first house you make an offer on, I mean, it's got to be pretty close to 0.
Yes. I mean, you just got to know this stuff. And the problem is, if your realtor's not advising you, you're never going to know this stuff. And you're going to say, what the devil happened?
Right.
And what happened is the reality. I mean, I have one buyer who's looking up to $400,000. He's lost out on 3 houses.
Right.
And all 3 he bid between $20,000 to $30,000 over asking.
Over.
Over.
Wow.
And he still lost.
Jeez.
And one of them, they said, I want to do it without a home inspection. I said, no. And they said, yes. I said, you're like me. If you see me with a hammer and a screwdriver, run the other way. You know nothing. And these weren't new. I said, you're going to kill yourself. I can't. It's your house. But I really can't have you do that. You're going to kill me later.
Yeah.
You say no now, but you will later.
I
know that.
Yeah.
But that's what they're looking at.
That's the situation now. And it doesn't really matter where you're looking anymore. You know, it started in Boston and started working its way west pretty fast. Now you're all the way out to Worcester and Worcester County.
Oh, you are. I mean, I have a buyer now. They're looking for cheap houses in Worcester, under $200,000. But every house they're looking at is already sold within days.
Right.
Now, how many people want to buy in Worcester? I guess there's a lot now.
Yeah, if you want to buy under $200,000.
There isn't much out there. Yeah. And I'm just saying, because of the marketplace, as a first-time home buyer, I know you have these issues on second and thirds,
right?
Just not as acute,
right?
If that's the right word, as you do in the first time. This buyer I talked, there was a home in Framingham that came on the market. It was on a little private driveway in the backyard abutted the Mass Pike. When I say abutted,
that was
see
your backyard.
The cars.
Oh, wow.
Okay, on for 380. They had 50 people at the open house, 20 people the day before, 7 offers, over $400,000.
Wow. And that's just the way it is now.
There's
no way around it.
That is the new real estate reality if you're a buyer. Today, you got to be aware. Now, as a seller, that doesn't mean if your house is worth $350, you're going to put it on for $4. You still got to be careful.
Yeah.
So you got to be real careful.
Yeah, you can't just start slapping big numbers on houses and expect them to sell.
It won't sell.
So if you price it right, it's going to sell fast.
Yes.
And if you're serious about buying, you're going to have to be.
You got to see Nelson.
You got to see Nelson. You know what? I'm going to give out your contact info again before we end the segment. It's Nelson Zide at ERA Key Realty Services in Framingham. Give them a call at 508-277-7794. Again, it's 508-277-7794. Call or text, or you can email them at nelson@nelsonzide.com. Nelson, thanks for coming in.
Rob, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.